Praise, esteem, and honor to the Most High Yah by way of Yahuah HaMashiach. Abigail and Eugene, go sit down. We give praise, esteem, and honor to the Most High Yah by way of Yahuah HaMashiach. This day, the 5th chapter, John, 39 verse. Gonna continue on dealing with what we've been dealing with. Search the scriptures, for in them you think you have eternal life, and there they was testified me. And you will not come to me that you might have life. I receive not honor from men, but I know you that you have not the love of Elohim in you. I come in my Abba's name, and you receive me not. If another shall come in his own name, him you will receive. How can you believe which receive honor one of another, and seek not the honor that come from Elohim only? Do not think that I will accuse you. The Abba, there is one that accused you, even Moses, in whom you trust. For had you believed Moses, Elizabeth, put that hat back on your head. For had you believed Moses, you would have believed me, for he wrote of me. But if you believe not his writings, how shall you believe my words? So we're dealing with the aspect of being a man or a woman after Yah's heart. We've looked at numerous examples with the man who was just had the testimony of being a man after Yah's heart, and that's David. And we'll continue looking at more testimonies of the same. Let's take ourselves to 1 Samuel chapter 30. Did he lay down?
Who?
Lamar, he in on the skate.
You can't go. You can sit in there. Go ahead, stop playing, son.
1 Samuel chapter 30. Let's look at about verse 4. Of course, this story is dealing with the Philistines coming through. Close your legs, Leah. Swiping. The main reason, like I said, right, when it came to my mind to take us in this particular direction, it was for the benefit for us to know what it really means to be an individual after this man's heart. You know what I'm saying? And every single solitary thing that we saw, it came back to two different things. It came back to faith, and it came back to an actual love for Yahuah from the heart, mind, and soul. And it was in this man as a child. You know, in the book of Proverbs, it said a child is known by his doings, whether he be good or whether he be evil. Now, of course, every one of us in here would have been determined to be evil as children. You know what I'm saying? And also the main benefit of what we going through this here, right? Whether y'all realize it or not, I don't know how seriously you take it, but the first example of godly living for these children coming from y'all. So don't sit back and say you want these children to follow in this way and you lukewarm and you not serious and you not dedicated to it, because what do you think they gonna do? You know what I'm saying? They not finna see nobody serving y'all outside y'all four walls. Do you know what I'm saying? When they go out there in that world, they gonna see sinners every day. So they first example of godly living, instruction, and dedication coming from you. You know what I'm saying? If you're lackadaisical, if you lukewarm, if you're not dedicated, if you're not consistent, don't be shocked when them children go after the world. Don't be shocked by that. You know what I'm saying? You're going to have to look yourself in the mirror and say you played an instrumental role in that if you did not stay wholly dedicated to Yahuah for the entire upbringing. You got to realize that. You got to understand that. Who else they gonna see? You got to remember, I said this last night, right? And that wasn't no exaggeration, because with the exaggeration of, with the exception of King, every child in this room heard the word in the womb. You know what I'm saying? Like when y'all were carrying them, they was hearing some manner of word while they were in the womb and when they came out. So they have a leg up on any other children in the world, because this is all that they've ever known. So you got to make sure that you are a shining example, that they see Yahuah HaMashiach in you to make them want to cleave to him. You got to remember that. That's dead serious right now. 1 Samuel 30 and 4. Then David and the people that were with him lifted up their voice and wept until they had no more power to weep. David's two wives were taken captives. Ahinoam, the Jezreelitess, and Abigail, the wife of Nabal the Carmelite. I ain't got nothing for you, King. Go sit down. And David was greatly distressed, for the people spake of stoning him, because the soul of the people was grieved, every man for his sons and for his daughters. But look what David did. David encouraged himself in Yahuah his Elohim. Now I have to ask y'all something. How do y'all think he encouraged himself in Yahuah his Elohim? Because you know what encourage is? All you do is take off the E and the N, and it's courage. So he found strength and power in his God when the people were talking about killing him. Now let's take a look at where Hamashiach did that. Y'all should know quite simply where we're going to head, because that's an easy one. But we're going to head there anyway. Luke chapter 22. See, and that's what I'm talking about right here. See, this is an example of distress. And the first thing that he thought about doing was let me encourage myself in Yah. That's the first thing he thought about. He didn't think about himself. He didn't think about nothing he could get. He didn't think about nothing he could do. The first thing he thought about in a low and weak and tribulous situation is let me go encourage myself in my God. That's the first thing he thought about. (22 and 39). It's the same thing, and we're looking at a situation where Hamashiach knows he's about to die. The people want to kill him. And what does he turn around and do? And he came out and went as he was walked to the Mount of Olives, and his disciples also followed him. And he was at that place. He said unto them, pray that you enter not into temptation. And he was withdrawn from them about a stone's cast and kneeled down and prayed, saying, Abba, if thou be willing, remove this cup from me. Nevertheless, not my will be done, but thine be done. Now pause. I need you to come over here to James. I'll show you something right here in James real quick. Abigail, find yourself somewhere to sit down. James chapter 4. It's actually 5, pardon me. I mentioned this to y'all the other day. I'm mentioning it again. 5 and 13. Could we say that David was being afflicted in that instance in Samuel? Would that be accurate? We know Hamashiach about to be afflicted. Look what he tell you to do. Is any among you afflicted? Let him pray. This is the first thing, because you know when you make a supplication to Yahuah, that means you seeking to encourage yourself and get strength from him. Remember what Paul wrote. Paul told us that, well, Hamashiach told it to Paul, that my strength is made perfect in weakness. So when you're in a weak state, when you're in a low state, that's when you need to encourage yourself in Yahuah, and that's where you're going to gain your strength from. See, a lot of time what we do is we try to gain it from somewhere else. If we're going to be a man after Yah's own heart, we need to pay attention to the small and subtle things that this man did to manifest the show. Because remember, we looked at the Labab, and that means to tell you what? This is a man who has an inner man who has determination and resolution of will. Determination and resolution of will. Remember, that goes right back to what we were talking about with adversity. Adversity is overcame through determination and resolution of will. Sin is overcome by determination and resolution of will. Faith is manifested through determination and resolution in the upright and perfect will of the living Elohim and your trust and hope in it. Because see, we could play with it, but boy, where your soul gonna rest at if you was to die this exact moment? This exact moment that we speak and you drop dead. You have to look at that. This ain't just something to be doing. You got to take it dead serious. Everybody don't take it dead serious. This is dead serious. This is literally like this man real. You know what I'm saying? People can tell you he ain't real. This man real. All you got to do is walk outside. You can see the testimony as gospel if you just lift your eyes up to the sky. It's right there. You know what I'm saying? Just a simple fact to look at how life renews itself. Then if you want to take it a step further, look at the situation and circumstances that this man has delivered you from before he made himself known unto you. Before he made himself known unto you. Sit back and look at the mind you have now versus the mind you had before and the mind he could have let you stay in. Renee, sit down and be still. Isaiah, don't let her get you in trouble. Renee, you know better. Verse 14. Is any sick among you? Let him call for the elders of the house and let them pray over him, anointing him with oil in the name of the master. And the prayer of faith shall save the sick, and the master shall raise him up. And if he's committed sins, they shall be forgiven him. Confess your faults one to another. Pray for one another that you may be healed. The effectual fervent prayer of a righteous man avail much. You know what that means when you say an effectual, fervent prayer? That's a constant, passionate prayer. This is why Mashiach told you pray without ceasing. This is why I told y'all women before, like, you ain't got to have your head covered 24/7, but you clearly can't be praying fervently on a consistent basis if you walk around here with it not on a regular basis. You can't be. And just like I mentioned last night, y'all supposed to have stuff for them little girls that had their head covered. We shouldn't be throwing sheets on their head, t-shirts on their head, none of that. Because you setting a bad standard of behavior that they not going to take that seriously to come properly prepared. You know what I'm saying? And you set the standard where they don't even see that they should be praying without ceasing because you not doing it. You got to think about that. If you want them to follow in something, you got to be the example for them to follow. You got to be the light that they look to. Not doing something because this is just what we do. Doing it because this is what we do. You know what I'm saying? Just for like example, I go to the gym because that's what I do. It don't matter if I'm feeling good. It don't matter if I'm feeling bad. It don't matter if I'm feeling in the middle. It's what I do. You have to take serving Yah as that's what you do. That's where consistency comes from. Not when you feeling your best. Not when everything's smooth. Because this is what you do. If you don't have it in your mind that this is what you do, you're going to be lackadaisical with it. And then they're going to be lackadaisical with it. And then you're going to be wondering why they out here living any kind of way. And blaming them for it. And it was your fault because you set a bad example. If you know you did everything you needed to do to stand, then that's going to be on them. But if you know you didn't give your all in your service to your God, don't you blame them children for that. Don't blame them children for that. Put that hat on your head. Don't you play with me. Elijah was a man subject to such like passions as we are. And he prayed earnestly that it might not rain. And it rained not on the Arabs by the space of 3 years and 6 months. And he prayed again. And Shamahin gave rain, and the earth brought forth her fruit. Brethren, if any of you do err from the truth and one convert him, let him know that he which convert the sinner from the error of his way shall save a soul from death and shall hide a multitude of sins. At the end of the day, we trying to hide a multitude of sins. Because we all know we got a laundry list long full of them. You know what I'm saying? You got to think about that. This man loved us enough to let us know his word. How we going to repay him? And look at what he mentioned, right? I told y'all that about praying the other day. That's how you encourage yourself in Yah, by seeking his face and praying. Come over here to Luke 11, just on the strength. Just how I feel like looking at it. We still got Luke 22 on deck. Let me ask y'all a question. Every man in this book that was a man of Yah, them boys prayed quite regularly, didn't they? The stuff I'm telling you, you better stop looking at the service as your God as a labor and a chore and look at it as a delight. Remember, he said he looking for true worshipers to worship him. That means he looking for people who want to do that work, who delight to do that work. Not people who feel like, oh, I got to do this now, I got to do this now. He can't do nothing with you. That's not a true worshiper. If you don't delight and take a joy in this man's labor, what you doing it for? Now, every last one of us hear them people tell you, do what you're passionate about. Well, you say you passionate about your God, you got immersed in his death, so clearly you had to be passionate enough to die. So how you can't be passionate enough about his labor? That don't make sense. That don't make sense. That don't make sense. You say this your passion. You got to realize something. When you got immersed, you were saying that, boy, I love Yah enough to lay my life down on the premise of his promise. I'm willing to die in the flesh to live in the Ruach on the premise of what he promised me. You got to be passionate enough about something to die for it. Abigail, leave them blinds alone. You want to come over here? You want to come over here? You want to come over here? Well, come on. You ain't got to come if you don't want to. You ain't in trouble. You look like you ain't want to sit over there no more. You want to come over here? Well, come on, Leslie. Luke 11:9, man. Make it 11:5. Matter of fact, we just started verse 1. You got to sit down if you come over here. You got to sit down if you're coming over here. Luke 11:1. And it came to pass that as he was praying in a certain place, when he ceased, one of his disciples said unto him, Master, teach us to pray as John also taught his disciples. He said unto them, when you pray, say, Our Abba, which art in Shamahim, Kadesh be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done, as in Shamahim, so in the rats. Give us day by day our daily bread, and forgive us our sins, for we also forgive everyone that is indebted to us. And lead us not into temptations, but deliver us from evil. Now look at the statement that he just made. Why do y'all think he said don't lead us into temptations? Why did you think he would insert that in there? Why y'all think he would put that in there? Let me show you why he put that in there. Paul, come over here to Psalm 95. Matter of fact, you come to Hebrew chapter 3. We in the New Testament. I just stay right on over there. It ain't a big deal. Come over here to Hebrew chapter 3. Oh, you guys come and join everybody else laying in the bed farting. You're probably stinking up. What you said? Seriously, I can't hear you. Okay. Hebrews 3 and 7. Y'all all right? You all right? You all right? Come on. Wherefore, as the Ruach HaKodesh saith, today if you will hear his voice, harden not your hearts, as in the provocation in the day of temptation in the wilderness.
Come over and sit down.
Hey, your daddy said you got to go back over there. I can't overrule that. He said, when your fathers tempted me and proved me and saw my works 40 years, wherefore I was grieved with this generation and said, they do always err in their heart, and they have not known my ways. So I swear in my wrath that they should not enter into my rest. Take heed, brethren, lest there be in any of you an evil heart of unbelief and departing from the living Elohim. So when we look at this here, right, when you were brought into the wilderness, he tempted you. Let me show you why. Deuteronomy chapter 8. But notice how he said they err in heart. See, the thing that you don't see, in 1 Corinthians chapter 10, he said there's no temptation uncommon unto man, but in all things Elohim make a way out. Remember what Amashak told you? He told you to watch and do what? So you won't enter into what? Now, why you think he would tell you that? Because he know the heart of man is weak. He already know that a man is tempted. He's drawn away of his own lust. So he's sitting here asking you, he got you praying, don't lead me into no temptation, lest I sin. Lest I go after my own desire. Keep me in the straight and narrow path where my focus is upon you. Because remember, Hamashiach told his apostles, he said, you are those who were with me in my temptations. Because there's going to be times where you're going to be tempted and you're going to have to hold fast to the word. But you would rather go ahead and escape. Because some of y'all done faced temptation and failed. And it's better for you to face no temptation and not fail than to face it and fail. And I ain't talking about nothing recently. I'm talking about period. Deuteronomy 8, verse 1. See, all the commandments which I command thee this day shall you observe to do, that you may live and multiply, and go in and possess the land which Yahuah sware unto your Abbas. And thou shalt remember all the way which Yahuah thy Elohim led thee these 40 years in the wilderness, to humble thee and to prove thee, to know what was in thy heart, whether thou would keep his commandments or no. Now I'm going to ask y'all a question, right? When we look at the story of David, do you see David getting tempted anywhere in the book? Like really, really being tempted and tried. Where you seeing it at? But even in certain situations, it wasn't necessarily that he would test it, because he had on intent. Remember, he said, Yah saw the man after his own. So he already knew David had a heart after his. Remember, he said he uses temptation to humble you, to try you, to see what was in your heart. He already knew what was in David's heart. You could look at it as a temptation, but yet he was never tried, because he never had an instance where he thought about what I should do. He never had any intent on killing him at all. Remember, we just read that one there, right? Soon as somebody broached the idea, he shot it down. There's only one instance in this story where you can say closely that he was tempted. And that's with Nabal. Because he was ready to kill Nabal for running him out. You know what I'm saying? But look at all the other stuff. You can look at Bathsheba, but when you look at every instance, he was never put in a situation to be tried. Y'all already knew what was in his heart. See, when he already knows what's in your heart, he won't necessarily have to try you. And the reason why I mention that is if a Mashiach is giving a prayer to saying, lead us not into temptation, and he's telling you to watch and pray lest you enter into temptation, it's for you not to even be tested and tried. Especially like this here work, because he gonna make a way out. Every one of y'all can attest if you was in a temptation, boy, there was a way for you to escape. And you chose to stay right in the house. The whole house was on fire. You could have ran out the front door and you sat right in there and burned. There was a way out. Right or wrong? There was a way out. You didn't want the way out. If you would sit down and be still, Abigail, you wouldn't have that problem. Stop. That's not nice. That's your little aggressive little boy. Come back over here to Luke, right? 22. Verse 43. We'll come back to Luke 11 in just a second. And there appeared a Malachim unto him from Shamahim, strengthening him. And being in agony, he prayed more earnestly, and his sweat was as great drops of blood falling down to the ground. And when he rose up from prayer, he was come to his disciples, and he found them sleeping for sorrow. And he said unto them, why sleep ye? Rise and pray, lest you enter into temptation. The reason why, if you can, and this is another reason why he's telling you to pray. When David was facing that, the people wanted to stone him, and he encouraged himself in his Elohim, that means he prayed to his Elohim, correct? If he praying to his Elohim, that means his focus on Yah. So how can he ever sit back and be tempted if his mind is clearly focused on Yah the whole time? You ain't got no room to get tempted. Luke 11. See, I'm going to tell you something, right? See, when you focus on Yah, then you can get the things that come from Yah. When you focus on you, you're going to get the things that you want.
Come inside.
Luke 11, where was that? Verse 4.
Sit down.
And forgive us our sins.
Hey, you go sit down too. You shouldn't have been over here. Go sit down.
Go. I'm not picking you up. I'm not picking you up. And forgive us our sins, for we also forgive everyone that is indebted to us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Abigail, go in the room with that. And he said unto them, which of you shall have a friend, and shall go to him at midnight, and say unto him, friend, lend me 3 loaves. For a friend of mine is in his journey, is come to me, and I have nothing to set before him. And from within shall answer and say, trouble me not, the door is now shut, and my children are with me in bed. I cannot rise and give thee. I say unto you, though he will not rise and give him, because he is his friend, and yet because of importunity, he will rise and give him as many as he need. I say unto you, ask, and it shall be given you. Seek, and ye shall find. Knock, and it shall be open unto you. For everyone that asks, receive, and he that seek, find. To him that knock, it shall be open. How you gonna seek? How you gonna get strength from Yah you ain't asking him for? How you gonna get strength from Yah you ain't seeking for? How you think you gonna get it? These people finna stone this man. And the first thing he thought to do was encourage himself in Yah. Let me seek my God. That's the first thing he thought about. Not spazzing out. This is the difference of meaning on temptation. How is David going to enter temptation and the first thing he thought about was to pray? That's impossible. See, when your mind stayed on Yah, you ain't got no room to be worrying about no sin and no other type of stuff. When your mind is off of Yah, then you worrying about your life and your way and your will and your flesh, and that's what you're going to get. Come on back to 1 Samuel 30. Renee, don't encourage him. We in verse 5 or verse 6. I'll read verse 6 one more time. David was greatly distressed, for the people spake of stoning him, because the soul of all the people was grieved, every man for his sons and for his daughters. But David encouraged himself in Yahuah his Elohim. David said to Abiathar the priest, Amalek's son, I pray thee, bring me hither the ephod. And Abiathar brought thither the ephod to David. David inquired at Yahuah, saying, shall I pursue after this troop? Shall I overtake them? He answered, pursue, for thou shalt surely overtake them and without fail recover all. So what's the next thing that David did here that y'all should pay attention to? What did he just do here that you should pay attention to? Not just his faith. Before he went to do something, he sought Yah first. Before he went to he could have easily just went up and went after that truth, couldn't he? No, he didn't make a decision and say, let me do what I want to do. He said, let me seek after Yah first. Let me see what Yah, let me inquire of him. They don't even pray before they make a decision. You don't even see, and in the word part, what you don't do is you want him to reply quickly or give you an answer quickly, so you won't even wait. So the first thing you see that you feel like confirming what you want, that's what you do. You got to see the difference of how a man after Yah's hard work and a man not after his hard work. Because if you after Yah's hard, you seeking after Yah's will, and you're going to inquire him, what should I do? Guess what? If he would have told him, sit your black behind down, he wouldn't have went. Remember, y'all seen that with Ahab, right? He said, Micaiah told him, no, you better stay here. Ahab said, I'm going to go anyway. Because that's what he wanted to do anyway. And that goes back to what we were talking about not too long ago. When you don't answer when he called and you don't hear his word, then he's going to give you over to a delusion that he wants you to believe. He's going to give you a lie that he wants you to have. So it will destroy you because you don't listen, because you don't obey, and you don't believe him. And that's how he's going to take you out. Verse 9. So David went, he and 600 men that were with him, and came to the brook Bezor, where those that were left behind stayed. But David pursued, he and about 400 men, 200 bowed behind, which was so faint that they could not go over to the brook of Bezor. And they found an Egyptian in the field and brought to him David and gave him bread, and he did eat, and they made him drink water. And they gave him a piece of cake of figs, 2 clusters of raisins. And when he eaten, his ruach came again to him, for he had eaten no bread, nor drunk any water 3 days and 3 nights. We done went over that before. Y'all already know what that is. Just a little insight into the resurrection of the dead. But let's drop down a little bit of Yahushua's resurrection anyway. Drop down to verse 16. We're going to read all that. Now, another story of David just popped in my head too. Any of y'all familiar with that story where David said he was so thirsty he would love to get a little drink from a well out of Bethlehem? You familiar with that? You know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm talking about? Y'all know what I'm talking about? Do you know what I'm talking about? I can't remember the place. Somebody had to pull the place. It's escaping my mind. But there was an instance where David was thirsty. They were in a battle. War was going on. And men went and risked their life to get water out of a well for this man. And you know what this man David did when they brought the water back? Oh, yeah. He didn't even drink it. He poured it out on the ground and said, let it be a drink offering unto Yahuah. And you know what that is? That's love for his brethren. Do you understand that? Do you know how much you got to sit back that these men had to love this man enough that when they heard him say that he wanted some water, they was willing to risk their life to go get it. You know what I'm saying? But then on top of that, when they brought him the water, first thing clicked in this man's mind is, boy, I can't drink that. Y'all hazard y'all life for this. He said, I'll give it to Yahuah. Do you see how that means when we talking about being a man? You know what the average nigga would have did? Oh, bet that up, cuz. I'm glad you did that for me. I sure was thirsty. Not even think about giving it to y'all. Just sit back and say, y'all deserve this here because these men risked their life for me. You know what I'm saying? When you talking about being a man after Yah's own heart, it ain't as simple as nigga make it out to be. But when you look at David, that's why you don't see David get tried too often. This was a godly man from inception. He had a mind and an inner man and an understanding to fulfill Yah's will. I mentioned that because that just popped in my head just then. Same way we read last night. That man said, I ain't going to take that threshing floor. He said he wasn't going to take it, what? Say, I'll pay you for it. I ain't going to charge. I ain't going to sit back and take nothing for Yah for free. You know what I'm saying? And I'm mentioning that there because it was instantaneous. It wasn't nothing even for him to think about. It wasn't even no doubt, I'm finna go over here to the left-hand side and do something evil. Automatically, I'm gonna do what's right in the eyesight of Yah. Automatically. That's why you got to be born again. And Asaiah, Joy, and Amariah, sit your behind down and stop playing. And you know better. You only did that because you thought you had opportunity. Get that out your mouth. Sit down on your butt. On your butt. Thank you. You got to think about that type of stuff, right? See, we mentioning this stuff here, right? Let me show you something. James chapter 1. It's all right. She could have been done, grabbed it and went in there 3 seconds. Now you done let it stay in there too long. James chapter 1. 1 and 21. Wherefore lay apart all filthiness and superfluity of naughtiness, and receive with meekness the engrafted word, which is able to save your souls. But be ye doers of the word, and not hearers only, deceiving your own selves. For if any be a hearer of the word and not a doer, he's like unto a man beholding his natural face in a glass. For behold himself, he go his way, and straightway forget what manner of man he was. But whoso look into the perfect Torah of freedom, and continue therein, he being not a forgetful hearer, but a doer of the work, this man shall be baruched in his deed. Reason why I read this here, because when we looking at being a man after Yah's own heart, we using David's work as a mirror. Now look at that and see if you see your reflection. Do you know what I'm saying? Because if you looking at it and you see your reflection, and you see the reflection of the son of the living Elohim. And most people, when they looking at you, not finna see yourself. You know what I'm saying? Because we don't have a mind that's knit together and dedicated to Yah. If you face difficult situations and the first thing that come in your head is not to pray, you already got a problem. You can't even tell me you a man after his own heart if you face a difficult situation and the first thing you don't think about do is to seek his face. That don't mean you can't be. That just mean you ain't right now. Because one thing for certain, two things for sure. I don't care what it is in life. I can't tell nobody in here what they can't be. You can be whatever you want to be. Now, whether you choose to do the work to become that, that's a whole nother question. And that's in your lap. If you want to be a son of Elohim, what's stopping you? Nobody but yourself. That's the only. Go eat. Go sit down and eat. It's time to eat. Go eat. You too, Malia. Your mommy can't save you. So find your spot. Find your spot. There's plenty of room. Find your spot. And it don't take playtime to eat. Because if y'all want to play, them plates gonna go in the trash and you'll go to sleep with nothing. Eat your food. Don't sit over there and play. We just gotta consider. That word come up. That word is supposed to be a reflection. Basically, when that word come up, what does Yah see? Remember how we just read the other day? Everything is naked and open with him, whom we have to do. What does he see when he see you? Because guess what? You can hide your heart from me, and you can't hide it from him. You can't hide that heart from him. You can think you can hide it from him. What Adam and Eve tried to do, they tried to hide, didn't they? Guess what happened? He found them too, didn't he? Sin was exposed. See, I had that in Numbers the other night. I ain't read it to you. I'm finna read it to you right now. Where we was at? Numbers 32? Come over here to Numbers 32. I meant to get down to that, and I ain't get down to it. I thank y'all for the word. That's all I can tell you. Let me make sure that's where that was at. Now, see, she shouldn't have to be telling y'all to be quiet. Let me see if that's right. I was just looking at it. There we go. Pick it up at about verse 20. Numbers 32 and 20. He said, Moses said unto them, if you will do this thing, if you will go armed before Yahuah to war, and will go all of you armed over Jordan before Yahuah, until he have driven out his enemies from before him, and the land be subdued before Yahuah, then afterward you shall return and be guiltless before Yahuah and before Yasharal, and this land shall be your possession before Yahuah. Remember, this is what we talked about when the tribe said they wanted to settle here. They say, oh, you discouraging the people. They say, oh, no, we'll go fight. Elizabeth Renee, stop it. Mike, you stop it. So these people said they were going to go to war and take over this land. Listen to what he tell them now. Because see, this goes into this right here, right? When you get immersed and you said everything that you said we will do. Listen to what he say. He said, but if you will not do so, you have sinned against Yahuah, and be sure your sin will find you out. You can play with it if you want to. If you say this is what you're going to do, if you say this is how you're going to live, that man say if you don't do what you say you're going to do, that sin going to find you out. He definitely going to search it. He going to find you, and he going to let it be known. Remember what he said in Jeremiah, if I'm not mistaken? No, that's Amos with the plumb line. He said, I'm not going to pass over Yasharal no more. I'm not going to pass over you no more. Do you know what I'm saying? See, this man gave us opportunity and pass after pass, and we play with it. And we play with it. But then we say, we got his heart. How? Come on back to 1 Samuel 30. At the end of the day, it's going to come down to one thing and one thing only. How bad you want to get in this man's kingdom. At the end of the day, how much you really trust y'all. How much you really believe in them promises. How bad you want them promises. Do you even believe you're going to receive that promise? Because remember, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob didn't get the promise. They died in faith having a good report. What if you don't get it? Remember what it said about Abraham? He said he did not stagger at the promise of Elohim through unbelief. But he believed that him that said it was able to do it, even though it hadn't came to pass yet. Even though it was no sign that this possibly could happen. He said, I know he can do it. Why would he have told me that if he couldn't do it? You got to sit back and look at it. He just told David, you're going to rescue your wives and all the spoil. Well, David said, well, let's ride then. He ain't saying nothing. See, a lot of people ask why we don't. Renee, now you go find you a corner and stand in it. Go stand over there. Go stand over there till you get your food. Renee, get up and go stand over there because you don't listen. You join her because I seen you too. Find you one. Find you one. Stand in it till your food comes. Put your face in it. Don't look back. That's what happens when you don't listen. And you bet not cry because you brought it on your own self. Nevertheless, bro, when we sit back and we look at, people wonder why we don't have power with Yah, why this stuff don't happen and this stuff don't happen, because you don't believe in it. You don't believe in it. You know what I'm saying? I told you, man, the book told you if a man got faith, he rich. I told you plenty of time before. This world don't love righteous people, nor desire righteous people, nor love or desire people of faith. Because they're different. They're odd. You know what I'm saying? They have a standard. Nehemiah said, I'm not coming down off this wall. I'm doing a great work. I'm not coming down to you. You got to come up to me. And people sit back and look at that like, oh, no. Y'all ever heard that phrase? People say you're too heavenly minded to be any earthly good? That's the dumbest thing I ever heard in my life. Because at that point, then you're going to say Hamashiach was no earthly good because this man's mind was in heaven. The book tell you to do that. Colossians 3:1. Hey, Maliah and Abigail and Hezekiah, leave her alone before you be over there with her. Colossians 3:1. Leave him alone. Leave him alone, boy. You better stop grabbing that boy genitals like that. He turn around and hit you in the head. I ain't got nothing to do for you. Colossians 3:1. Listen what he tell you. What did the Mashiach tell you to set your treasures at? Well, set them above. But you ain't supposed to have a mind that's above. That's retarded. That's what it means to have a mind after Yah's own heart. Your mind in heaven. Your mind ain't on this life and in this earth. If you then be risen with a Mashiach, seek those things which are above, where Hamashiach sit on the right hand of Elohim. Do you see the caveat with that? What's the caveat to set your mind on those things that above? What's the caveat? That means you had to been on God immersed and been rose and made in the likeness of his resurrection because you died to sin. And what did Hamashiach do after he rose? Where did he go? He went to heaven, right? Come on over here and sit down because your food here. I meant what I said. If you sit over there and play while you eating, your plate going in the trash. And you going to sit down and you ain't getting nothing to eat. That go for every last one of you. Set your affections on the thing above, on the things above, and not the things on the earth. Now you know what your affections is, that's your desires. Set your desires on the things that are of Yah, and stop setting your desires on the things of this life. And you can get the things that come from Yah. And you can get some of the things you desire of this life and be according to his will. When he say, for you are dead and your life is hid with a Mashiach and Elohim. When a Mashiach, who is our life, shall appear, then you shall also appear with him in esteem. I got to sit back and look at it. Let this life be the reason if you want to. See, we were talking about this the other night, right? No matter what it is you dealing with and what it is you facing, you got to dig down deep and overcome it. I deal with talking to my homeboy about this here, man. He talking about I'm trapped in my job. You ain't trapped. You choose to be trapped. Because you a man. If you a man, then you got power to make something happen. If you tell me you can't do something, you ain't no man, you's a hoe. Because men don't talk like that. A man ain't going to tell you, I can't do this, I can't do that. What you mean you can't do it? Unless it's a physical limitation, then nigga, you can make that happen. We choose not to make it happen because we like to give each cracker too much credit. We like to say this in the way and that in the way. It might be hard. It might be tough. It might be a conundrum that it's going to take you a good little minute to figure it out. But if that's what you want to do and you say you a man, you're going to figure a way. You're going to figure a way, period. See, we quick to say we men. We only say we men because you can pull your little penis out and make a baby. That don't make you no man. Because at the end of the day, what type of men are we being for them? For them. Because if you ain't going to do it for yourself, do it for them. That's the point I'm looking at. All y'all knew how we grew up, and the neighborhoods you grew up, and then the stuff that you seen. If you're not going to make yourself a righteous man for yourself, do it for them. And if you can't do it for them, you a sucker in my eyesight. That's any man walking the planet. If you can't do it for the children, what type of nigga is you? What did the Mashiach say? What would happen to somebody if they offended any one of them little ones that believed on him? Say he'll hang your neck. Say it's better for you to have a millstone hung for your neck and be drowned in the sea. And guess what? Offending his children ain't got nothing to do with just doing something evil to him. You ain't standing up like a man like you supposed to. And my homeboy had me hot because the nigga was actually implementing a way to get out of his what he felt like he was trapped. And you screaming you trapped. Oh, you know the system set up against us. Nigga, don't call my phone with that crap. Nigga, I don't want to hear that. You know what I'm saying? Well, we know it's real out here. We know it's rough. But if we say we a man, you supposed to dig down deep. How are women supposed to feel protected and be able to be guided and you niggas can't even overcome nothing? You crumple at the first sign of distress. How your son gonna grow up and be a man and stand firm for what he believe in and push something to make it happen if you don't do it? He gonna follow your same pathway. We all got a power to break a curse. It comes down to how bad you want to break it. Especially if you rely on Yahuah. Nevertheless, back to 1 Samuel 30. You know, sometimes take a minute, right? You know how old you know Colonel Sanders? You know who Colonel Sanders is? You know how old that man was before he hit his first million? About 65 years old. That man was going cooking that chicken for 40 years before he hit his load. 40 years. You know what I'm saying? Huh? It ain't even good. Hey, whether it's good or not, all I'm saying is the determination of will. You see what I'm saying? Keep on fighting. Keep on pushing. Keep on going. That's what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? Stuff might be hard. It might take a little longer. Some people get on in 3 years. Some people get on in 10. You hear the stories all the time. Most of the people you see successful, they have been working for a long, long time before they got successful. So it seemed like just because you see in their face now, oh, them boys just came out of nowhere. They have been grinding for a minute. You know what I'm saying? You think most people who were sinners for 20, 10, 15, 20 years turned up to be righteous in 6 months? You know what I'm saying? Especially when you come, now I'm talking about the difference now, from now to then. You know, then they had the word, they knew what they were supposed to be doing. They understood the book to where if somebody came and showed them a Mashiach, they could be converted instantly. You know what I'm saying? You coming from absolutely nothing. You ain't know nothing about your God. You ain't know nothing about his way. You ain't have no concept of faith whatsoever. And you expecting to be a son of God in 6 months. You expecting to be a son of God in a year. You know what I'm saying? When you got to unlearn everything you've ever learned in your entire life. Not only just as forth as information is concerned, but unlearn to follow your flesh and your desires. Because boy, nigga can't tell me he became no son of God and he been in the word less than a year and you ain't know nothing ever if you wasn't raised in it. How's that possible? You know what I'm saying? You ain't even heard no full gospel. How's that possible? Verse 16, 1 Samuel 30. When he brought him down, behold, they were spread abroad upon the whole earth, eating and drinking and dancing, because of the great spoil that they taken out of the land of the Philistines, out of the land of Yahudah. David smote them from the twilight even unto the evening of the next day, and there escaped not a man of them, save 400 young men which rode upon camels and fled. David recovered all that the Amalekites had carried away, and David rescued his 2 wives, and there was nothing lacking to them, neither small nor great, neither sons nor daughters, neither spoil, nor anything that they had taken to them. David recovered all. David took all the flocks and the herds which they drave before those other cattle, and said, This is David's spoil. And they came to the 200 men which were so faint that they could not follow David, whom they had made also to abide at the brook Besor, and they went forth to meet David and meet the people that were with him. And when David came to near to the people, he saluted them. So you see the key thing was stop them people from coming. It's not that they didn't want to go. They didn't have the strength to go. And look at the judgment that David did. Y'all just stay on back. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm not going to bring you out here and get you killed. Y'all stay on back. But look who woke up. Then answered all the wicked men and the men of Belial. Who know what Belial means? Who know what that means? Huh? Worthless. Wicked men. Worthless and wicked men walk up and run in their mouth. Of those that went with David and said, because, and I also want to point that out, right? Do you see that? That David went, but guess who was right there with him? Wicked people. See, and guess what that's showing you? That's another example of showing you that wheat will be right along with the tares. Because it's wicked men right there with him, went down to the battle, got some of the spoil and all that there. But guess what they were going to get at the end? Absolutely nothing. At the end, at the conclusion of the matter, that's why I be telling you, you can sit around here and hear the word. It's a man of Belial sitting in here now. Got to be. Or the word of lie. Got to be. We wasn't sitting with Yahushua, wasn't it? It was 12 people. It was one man of Belial. Book gonna be consistent. Book gonna be consistent. Paul wrote how he said we was in peril of false brethren. Ain't that what he wrote? Book gonna be consistent. Then Psalm 55 say, let's get Psalm 55 real quick. The reason why I mention this stuff is because I don't want you to be shocked. Because guess what? There was a time period where it was just a few of us and it went to like 40. You know what I'm talking about? And it could happen again. You know what I'm talking about? And don't be shocked and confused if a wicked nigga sitting amongst you and you like, how this supposed to happen? You know what I'm talking about? Have your mind right, know what the words say, then you won't be shocked and you can handle stuff with wisdom and judgment when it comes. Psalm 55. We can pick it up at verse 10. He said, day and night they go about it upon the walls thereof. Mischief also and sorrow are in the midst of it. Wickedness is in the midst thereof. Deceit, guile, depart not from her streets. For it was not an enemy that reproached me, then I could have borne it. Neither was it he that hated me that did magnify himself against me. Then I would have hid myself from him. But it was thou, a man my equal, my guide, my acquaintance. We took sweet counsel together and walked in the house of Elohim and company. Let death seize upon them and let them go down quick into hell, for wickedness is in their dwellings and among them. As for me, I will call upon Elohim, and Yahuah shall save me. Evening and morning and at noon will I pray and cry aloud, and he shall hear my voice. Because the truth, like I said, I reiterate this here because when y'all know, when it get real, y'all got to know who the people going to be the problem is. You know what I'm saying? Y'all got to understand that and know that. As righteous as David was, they go into a battle. It was not only did it make a separation, not only did it could have just said men of Belial, right? It said wicked men and men of Belial. Come on back, man. Because you know what the wicked men gonna do? Always have something to say about the righteous. Always try to shoot at the righteous. Always try to accuse the righteous. But look how David handled it, though. Let's look at some more of this just judgment he got going on. Then, verse 22, 1 Samuel 30. Then answered all the wicked men and men of Belial, of those that went with David, and said, because they went not with us, we will not give them all of the spoil that we have recovered, save to every man his wife and his children, that they may lead them away and depart. Then said David, you shall not do so, my brethren, with that which you who have given us, who have preserved us, and delivered the company that came us into our hand. Now look at another instance how David is a man after Yah's own heart. Did you notice he didn't say that we got that on our own volition and power? He said, Yah gave us this spoil. Yah gave us this spoil. See, he understood. You know why he understood that? Because Deuteronomy 20 says, Yah who go before you, the war before your enemies. It's Yahuah who give you power to get wealth. He understood this. So he knew he did not gain this by his own might and his own power. So when he's looking at this, this is the things that Yah has given us. Let us dispense it amongst one another equitably. Listen to, and look at what David say. Look how gangster he get with him. He say, for who will hearken unto you in this matter? But as his part is that go down to the battle, so shall be his part that tarry by the stuff, and they shall part alike. And you know what that also take you back to? You know what that also take you back to? That parable of the workers with the penny, right? Everybody get the same wage, right? Whether they started early in the morning or whether they came late, everybody get the same reward. Get what? Whether you preach the word or whether you sit there and hear, I'm a part of this eternal life in this Ruach HaKodesh to everybody alike. Everybody gonna get that same blessing. It's no difference. So do you see, and again, you see his wisdom, you see his understanding of how he operated, because he operate like a man of Yahuah. He operate like Yahuah himself. He got, because what is Yahuah? He say he do justice and judgment. Period. That's repeatedly echoed in the Torah over and over and over again. He's an Elohim of judgment. He's full of abundance and goodness and truth. He gonna be firm. He gonna be fair. He gonna be righteous. He gonna do what's just. But most importantly, he ain't gonna seek to please himself. He gonna seek to please the weak.
If you don't go sit your butt down for work.
And look what happened here in verse 25. And it was so that from that day forward, he made it a statute and an ordinance for Yasharal unto this day. So when he did that, that became law. Do you know what I'm saying? Because when you sit there for ordinance, it's mishpat. That became a judgment. This is how we gonna judge matters like this. 1 Samuel 19. Let me make sure 1 Samuel 19 really got what I want. Come over here to 20. 20 probably got what I want. 1 Samuel 20. We pick it up at verse 4. Then said Jonathan unto David, whatsoever thy soul desire, I will even do it to thee. And David said unto Jonathan, behold, tomorrow is the new moon, and I should not fail to sit with the king at meat, but let me go that I may hide myself in the field until the third day at even. If my father at all miss me, then say David earnestly asked leave of me that he might run to Bethlehem, his city, for there's a yearly sacrifice there for all the family. Let's drop down a little bit. Well, never mind, I got to keep going. If he say thus, it is well, thy servant shall have shalom. But if he be very wroth, then he be sure that evil is determined by him. Therefore thou shalt deal kindly with thy servant, for thou hast brought thy servant into the covenant of Yahuah with thee. Notwithstanding, if there be in me iniquity, slay me thyself. For why should thou bring me to thy father? Now you see what he told him? He said, if it be sin in you, kill me yourself. But notice he said, I entered into a covenant with. How does the book describe the love that Jonathan and David had for one another? It surpassed the love of a man to a woman. Now, how does that pertain to the things that we can see later on in this word? Let's look at it. Hebrews 13:1. Matter of fact, hold on before we go over there. Come over here to stay in chapter 20. Drop down to verse 16. Make it verse 15. 1 Samuel 20 and 15. Let me do that first. But also thou shalt cut off thy kindness from my house forever. No. When Yahuah have cut off the enemies of David, every one of them from the face of the earth. So Jonathan made a covenant with the house of David, saying, let Yahuah even require it at the hand of David's enemies. Jonathan caused David to swear again because he loved him, for he loved him as he loved his own soul. Now, this book just said that Jonathan loved David like he loved his own soul, right? Now, let me ask you a question. Would you lie to yourself? Would you betray yourself? Would you injure yourself? Now, I want to show you something, right? John 15 and 13. We'll pick back up with Jonathan and David, Yahuah willing, on tomorrow. I'm finna get ready to slide this on out of here. Make that John 13 first, and then John 15, and then Hebrews 13. John 13 and 31. Therefore, when he was gone out, Yahushua said, now is the Son of Man esteemed. Elohim is esteemed in him. If Elohim be esteemed in him, Elohim shall also esteem him in himself, and shall straightway esteem him. Little children, yet a little while I am with you, you shall seek me. And as I said unto the Yahudim, whither I go, you cannot come. So now I say to you, a new commandment I give unto you, that is that you love one another as I have loved you, that you also love one another. By this shall all men know that you are my disciples, if you love one another. Now, we'll look in Most High willing on tomorrow, on Shabbat, more in-depthly. Because you know Jonathan and David showed each other a lot of love and delivered each other from a lot of heritage situations to where everybody knew that Jonathan and David was on the same team. You understand? Now, he said they loved each other. He loved David as his own soul. John 15 and 13. Make it 15 and 12. This is my commandment, that you love one another, as I have loved you. Greater love have no man than this, that a man lay his life down for his friends. Now I'm going to ask you a question. Does the law tell us to love one another? Tell you that numerous times, don't it? So these things ain't nothing new, but it's the fact of, but I want you to understand the key point. Why did Jonathan and David love each other? Same mind. And what was that mind? That was a righteous man. See, you don't get no point for loving no wicked nigga. You know what I'm saying? Because you remember, right, it tell you that a bishop's supposed to be a lover of what? Good men, right? See, just because you supposed to love sinners and so forth, that you your Abba and Shamahim. But you don't get no points just because you love a wicked nigga. You feel what I'm saying? That was a righteous man. But Jonathan went against his own daddy at peril of his own life. Because he knew his daddy was wrong. He knew his daddy was wrong. He rode with the righteous man, didn't he? How many dudes would go against their daddy to ride with a man that ain't even their blood? You know why he rode with David? Because like I said, it was a godly man. Why wouldn't he ride with it? Why wouldn't he ride with it? Because guess what the law say? Well, guess what the Mashiach say? If you love father, mother, and brother more than me, you're not worthy of me. Jonathan didn't love Saul more than he loved y'all. And when he seen iniquity and unjust judgment, he had to go with what was right. He had to go with what was right. Why wouldn't he? So if Jonathan loved David as his own soul, what that say about Jonathan? He a man after Yah's heart as well. Wouldn't you say, Jay? You gotta pay attention. You gotta pay attention. Godly people love each other. You know, godly people love people that ain't godly. But they love godly people just a tad bit more. Just a tad bit more. Hebrews 13. How could you not? Most High willing, we'll pick it up from here on tomorrow.
Don't get me.
Just gonna read that. Well, after this, 1 Peter 1 and 22, because I did have that in my head. Let brotherly love continue. Ain't that what he said? If you in a Mashiach body, that make you brother, wouldn't it? You say you love a Mashiach, how you don't love your brother? How that makes sense? That don't make no sense to it. There's a lot of niggas don't love each other. Or they scream niggas don't love them because the nigga don't go along with their crap. Because a lot of niggas want you to go along with their crap. That ain't love. 1 Peter chapter 1, verse 21. That ain't love right there. If you around here smoking crack, I ain't going along with that. You doing damage to yourself.
What you doing? What you doing?
1 Peter chapter 1, verse 21. Who by him do believe in Elohim that raised him up from the dead and gave him esteem, that your faith and hope might be in the Elohim, seeing that you purified yourselves in obeying the truth through the Ruach under unfeigned love of the brethren, see that you love one another with a pure heart fervently. So hallelujah for Yahushua in the world. We start right there. Peace to everybody on the stream. Bless y'all at the house of y'all in the name of Yahushua. But consider, like, how many of y'all ever sit back since we've been, what we're looking at, 3 days in a row? How many of y'all really paid attention to all the elements that show that David was a man? You know how you look at stuff, you overlook it? That man manifested, he was after Yahuah's heart too many times. And instances that nigga don't even pay attention to. You know? But everybody stay strong in the faith, stay rooted and grounded. Don't be pushed to the left hand nor to the right. Yahuah willing. Shabbat, for the people on the stream, we probably crank it up by 8:30. 8:30. Because it'd be good and dark then. Y'all know the time going by, so we push that start time up earlier on Friday. Because it'll be darker. You know, it go back to 9 because it's still daylight, so y'all got time to, you know what I'm saying? Still moving and grooving. But,